Banks here, and today I'm going to do a video on how to practice. A lot of people ask me how I practice, how I've practiced in the past, and how they can improve their practice for maximum productivity. So I thought I would just make a video about it. There's that old saying that practice makes perfect, and I think that that's actually wrong. I think smart and efficient practice makes perfect, not just practicing in and of itself. So the thing that I have found over the last 25 years of playing the guitar is you really need to be able to identify what the issue is that you're struggling with. Now, your teacher could help you with that, or if you're very sort of in touch with what you're playing, you might be able to work it out yourself. That is the real root of it. Just going and shedding on the guitar like going to the gym isn't necessarily going to make you better. You will probably improve, but you want to obviously maximize your improvement for your time. When I was younger and I was a student, I used to practice for hours and hours and hours on end. Particularly when I was an undergrad, I had lots of spare time and I was doing lots of technical work. And there are some aspects of technical work, particularly speed and picking that. It's just a matter of doing it a lot, like lifting weights. So you can do that. Sometimes you don't have to be as mentally tuned into what you're doing, so you can watch TV. But there are other aspects where it just feels like you're hitting a wall. And I've been up against so many walls in the last 25 years, it's not funny. And I've had some great teachers in the past who have been really perceptive and have just sort of stood back. And this is in all styles. I spent a lot of time playing classical guitar when I was younger, and they would offer suggestions about things. It would just be very, very minor things. It might be just, say, bringing my right foot back a quarter of an inch, and that would then straighten my back up, which would then mean that my right shoulder would be in shape, and then my left arm would come back, and then the passage that I was struggling with was no longer an issue. So there are bigger picture things that you can look at. But I found that, I became a father 16 months ago, and before that I was really concerned about how productive my guitar playing time was going to be, because I was aware from everyone I'd heard who's had kids, you don't have a lot of time, and it's true, you don't have a lot of time. But apart from the wonderful thing of being a father, it has also been fantastic for my playing, because it has made me really focus on what it is that I want to achieve in my practice and what it is that I need to actually focus on with my technique, or whether it's an improvising thing. So I find I spend a lot of time preparing to practice. So if I'm, say, driving to a gig, or I'm driving to daycare to pick up my daughter, I might think about like, I did a gig last night and this didn't go well. What was the problem? And I'll probably mull over it while I'm sitting in traffic. Think like, probably the reason why is when there's this groove and I have this chord progression, my timing is slightly out, and therefore I think that it's a combination of my technique and the harmonic rhythm and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of identify it so that when I do get time on the guitar, which I don't get that much time to practice. Sometimes I don't get to practice at all. So there might be like a day or two I don't get to touch the guitar because I've got dad things to do. But when I do get on the guitar, every second is productive. You give me 7 minutes, I could learn a concerto, do a tax return, and learn a Brent Mason solo. It's that productive. So I think whatever your problem is, whether it's working on your picking technique, don't just sit down with a metronome and just pick. It's like bashing your head against a wall. Think about it. Stand back. Imagine it was like me looking at your technique like this. And could it be that your right hand is tense? Could it be that your hand position is in the wrong place? Could it be that you're fixed, or that you're floating, that you need an anchor? You need to be essentially like a doctor that's diagnosing a problem. And then once you've diagnosed it, there are very often very simple remedies that you can come up with that are tailor-made to fix that thing. A lot of people have issues with their pinky. So that might be a matter of just doing tapping exercises across the fretboard like this. And you might just start with literally just tapping like that. I know there's never really going to be a gig where you just do these tapping exercises, but that's not the point. And you do it with all different finger combinations. And then once you've trained that action, it's all about training an action first without power or speed. Because very often when you apply power and speed, you'll fall back into bad habits. So you put that action into place first. And when you can consistently do it, a lot of people also tell me that they have like pinkies that hang all the way out here. So you might kind of control it. I don't know if you can see that like my pinky is pretty close to the fretboard. It wasn't naturally like that. I had to train it to do that. Then when I can do that, then I might do a little bit of power, and that might be a pull-up. Let's turn my volume up slightly. And then hammer-ons. So forth. And then gradually build the speed up. Be patient. When you start practicing, I think there's a tendency, and I've been very guilty of this over the years, of you want to be great initially, but you've got to be average before you can be good, and then you've got to be good before you can be great, and you've got to be great before you can be excellent, and you've got to be excellent before you can be an absolute virtuoso. Playing the guitar or any musical instrument, it is an incredibly detailed, finite thing to do. We're dealing with a piece of wire that at its thickness is very often like 0.52 of a millimeter, and we have to play in time and accurately. It's like being a trapeze artist that has to do a ballet on a trapeze and jump from different distances. So you've got to just be kind to yourself when you're practicing. But I think if you do some mental preparation beforehand, if you know that like you've got 25 minutes each night where you can sit down with the guitar, think about what it is you want to do. Say you want to get really good at chicken picking. Okay? So chances are that it'll be your right hand or your picking hand that you really need to work on if you're doing chicken picking. So while you're, on the bus going to work or on the subway or whatever it is, before you get into your practice session, you might have time to think about what it is you want to do and to maybe identify. Like there might be issues like double stopping, for example, is a harder thing to do in chicken picking than just playing pick and a middle finger. So what is it about doing a double stop that you are having trouble with? Is it that you're getting really tense when you play? Or is it that you find that you have to reach too far? So if you can really think about this and you can identify the problem and diagnose it, and then you can think about a generic exercise that you can come up with to just work on that will then gradually build that technique up, your playing will greatly improve. And I found that this has been the case whenever it's learning things to do with improvising, playing through changes or standards. It's not the time when I'm in the chair actually playing is productive, but I do far more mental preparation for that time to make sure that it's productive. So look, if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. I could do more videos on this topic. I'm very passionate about helping guitar players improve. I teach lots of lessons, and also trying to teach people how to practice. I don't really think that there is a lot of stuff on the art of practicing, and yet it is something that everybody has to do if they want to get better. Jimi Hendrix was not born being one of the greatest guitar players of all time. That guy practiced really hard and really smart. He had lots of natural talent, that's very obvious, but he had to woodshed to get to where he was. And to get to that level by the age of 27, he did it in a very effective and efficient way. And other people can do that as well. I think we just need to start a dialogue about how to practice efficiently and effectively. It exists in the classical world and it exists in the jazz world. Guys like Wynton Marsalis have talked about it. But I think in the electric guitar world, there's not so much on the art of practicing. So look, shoot me a message, give us a follow, hit the bell on the YouTube icons if you want to get updates about my videos. I'm on Instagram as well. I put up slightly different content at the Rev Dr. Z. And on my Facebook page, we've got a forum sort of going so that you can talk with other guitar players about what you're going through with your practice or gear and licks and lessons. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.